Ew. Hope you guys are having a good night. Oh my gosh, there's some fantastic wrestling on tonight though. In case you don't know, AEW is going to be having their biggest show on Sunday, but before that they had a show today and a show on, they're going to have a show on Saturday. Going over some like major feuds and stuff like that. The headliner, of course, I would say there's two between the women's championship as well as like what's going on with the heavyweight championship on the men's side. I will say I have thoroughly enjoyed Toni Storm's approach, or like the story that's between Toni Storm and Mariah May. Basically what happened was Toni Storm is this New Zealand wrestler, I believe. Yeah. Who went off to Japan, did a whole bunch of accomplishments there, went down to WWE, had a bit of a rough going there, not gonna lie, before ending up in AEW as, I believe, yeah, part of the Outcasts faction. Eventually, though, she started to, how do I put it, go a little bit crazy and adopted this whole new gimmick of being like a fading 1920s, 1930s starlet, which is a pretty interesting callback considering that the company that owns, well, not really owns, but has the TV rights deal with AEW is Warner Bros. Discovery, and Warner Bros. Has been around since like basically since the start of the film industry and covered so many like silent and like major films too. So this all rolls into her gimmick though, because Tony's just recalling a whole bunch of like old-fashioned movies and using them to further her character. So for instance, I think it was like All About Eve or something like that. Like that's the one that Mariah May is based off of, but there's one that predates that, I think, wherein it's about like a delusional actress who, how I put it, has a butler who deceives her partly by giving her like fan mail and stuff like that, pretending that she still has fans out there, despite the fact that she's pretty much given up and, or not given up, but rather hasn't been able to land a role and become a recluse. What I want to say though is that, yeah, she has done some fantastic character work, and also wrap that up with, like, she hasn't lost too many steps with her wrestling either. She's still like very much a hard hitter, striker, just pile drives people. Yeah. Meanwhile, Mariah May followed an identical route that Toni Storm did, training up, going around the British scene, I believe, as well as, yeah, going down to Japan in order to get a bunch of championships down there. So very identical career paths besides the WWE stint. And Toni recognized this and brought her under her wing as her protege and stuff like that. And they got along pretty well. Like, they saved each other when it came down to singles matches. Toni did teach her like a bunch of her own moves, which Mariah May did emulate. Only this emulation got too far. And just when Mariah May got her very own championship shot against Toni Storm, Mariah May just straight backstabbed her, like hit her with her own shoe kind of thing. Which was a wild... I remember that episode vividly. It was just so... I knew I shouldn't have been surprised, but yeah, Mariah May just knocked it out of the park with the ferocious... Is that it? Ferocious? No. Viciousness of her actions and stuff like that. Like, Toni was just straight up bleeding, but more than that, she was heartbroken. So I'm very excited to see the conclusion of this feud. It'll probably end up in Mariah May's victory. Like, Toni's been a great champ. She toppled people like Shida to start her reign. Then she beat like Nyla. She beat Serena Deeb. Who else? I think think she beat Anna Jay at least once, yeah. Or Sky Blue at least. Yeah. So excited to see where they take that next. And then for the men's heavyweight championship, it'll be Swerve versus Bryan Danielson. So, oh my gosh, where to even start with this? The current champion has been putting in so much character work, like, how do I put it? He's pretty much a charismatic anti-hero in some ways. Like, and he knows it too. He's very self-aware in terms of his character. Like, the way he got to the top was through building up a faction, betraying his old tag team partner, feuding with the top stars in the company, such as like Darby Allin and Swerve, until eventually he had enough momentum to start challenging people, like for their championships. So he challenged like Orange Cassidy for his international championship, which was a very fun part of Cassidy's reign. He was a former take champ, but lost that and kind of went crazy because of it. And then recently he was able to top Samoa Joe in order to become the AEW World Champion. And that's no easy feat. Like, in kayfabe, Samoa Joe just like is top tier in terms of his psychology. Like, he won't fall for people diving towards him. He'll just like walk it off. And he seems to be able to pass that ability to other people too, which is kind of funny. Samoa Joe has moves that will literally break people apart. Like, I haven't read the manga that it's from, but he uses the move called the Muscle Buster, wherein you basically flip your opponent upside down so that they're like on your like you make shoulder contact, but the guy you're carrying is upside down, and then you fall backwards to deal like maximum damage or something like that. Like, that move is incredibly risky and has the risk of like paralyzing you if you're not careful. What else is there? But Swerve managed to beat that guy, which already says a lot. The downside is that, like, now Swerve is alone and he's pissed off a ton of people to get to that position. Like, in the feud prior to this one, he basically... Yeah, Swerve was in the Intercontinental Classic, but before that he was feuding with Hangman and literally invaded, like, Hangman's home and cut a promo on his baby, which is pretty depraved, not gonna lie. Aside from Hangman, he also pissed off like Christian Cage. That was a fun feud. And then lastly, yeah, now he's feuding with Drake and himself, Bryan Danielson. Meanwhile, on Bryan's side, he's literally put his 25-year career on the line. Dude's been all over the world just making wrestling part of his life. He lived, breathed wrestling. When he got injured, he couldn't bear to step away from it and did commentary instead. So, yeah, it's a miracle that Bryan Danielson's wrestling at all, considering his concussion. Like, it wasn't as severe as previously thought, but he still got so many other injuries from like just over years just doing non-stop wrestling. Broken arm, broken leg, thankfully not a... Wait, did he break his neck at one point? Oh no. Yeah. But the dude's... he needs to retire, or at least go into like semi-retirement like John Cena. But he needs to put his name on that belt. A guy who has managed to defy all of the odds for not being the biggest guy out there, but definitely the most technical, needs to have a shot at that championship and win for once. He's already had two in the past against like Hangman and Kenny. I feel now wouldn't be a bad time for him to win the championship, even for a short reign. He can drop it back to Swerve or something like that. But speaking of dropping things, let's go ahead and drop this artwork real quick. So I did a lot of progress compared to last time, just in my off time, because like I was kind of weirded out about how it looked. So I decided to do a little bit of coloring on my own to see if it would work out. So here's what the line art originally looked like. It's just fine. It's just, how do I put it? I couldn't quite do what I did with Aqua's, just because her hair is very green. Like, just very green. And also the bangs are kind of subtle in some ways. Like, they overlap each other quite a bit. So I decided to do a bit of lino cut, had it turn out like this. So at this point, it's just like touching up the details. If the light's hitting from this angle over here, then that means this side should be darker over here. So I need to make sure that reflects that. Probably need to work on the neck a little bit too. It doesn't need to be perfect though. Yeah, that's about it. So, just a matter of carving this up a little bit more. It's looking pretty good though. Like, I like the texture over here and going down here. I just need to be sure that the texture over here is like shows a bit more of where the bangs are more pronounced than others, I think. And then over here I need to work on, I think I gotta make this a little bit more subtle. I want to show like where the marks are being made. So I don't want my size to be too big. Yeah, there we go. And voila. I also messed up. I thought I had a bit more time to finish this, but I didn't. She had her anniversary stream like a couple hours ago now, which is fun. Like, it's gonna get chaotic by like her next year, the year after though. Hearing all the voices at once. She basically just replayed her old, well, yeah, her other stream, her debut stream, but it also contained like all of the other past iterations of her reviewing that stream. And oh my gosh. There is a psychological, well, not really a psychological effect anymore. What was thought to be a psychological effect called like the beer party trick or something like that, wherein people were able to call the side like if people were in a main conversation but were within distance of another party, they would be able to remember parts of the other party's conversation even though they weren't like part of it. Turns out the reason behind that was that people kind of drift in terms of their attention. Like, psychologically speaking, imagine that your attention is like a spotlight. So you're able to focus on some things in great detail, like the closer to the center of the spotlight you are, right? But your mind kind of gets bored after a while, which evolutionarily makes sense. Like, you don't want to be focused too much on one thing or else you'll risk getting ambushed by something else in the wild, right? So, as a result, your mind can wander a little bit if it's not trained to be focused. And that wandering results in you being able to tune into the other conversation and remember it. So it's not so much as like you have, how I put it, like the ability to hear multiple things at once and multitask. That's myth in and of itself. It's more like it's hard to maintain constant attention. Yeah. Fun times with psychology. Oh my gosh. I kind of wish I majored in psychology, mostly because like upper level psychology is just neuroscience by a different name. And you don't even just purely work with human subjects either at that level. You start working with like animal subjects as well. Of course, psychology has come a long way since Freud and stuff like that. Because it's no longer just about looking at deep-rooted causes. Or rather, like, yeah, like having a person sit down and, you know, sit in a chair and watching and all of that. It's more about, I mean, there's heavy emphasis now about cognitive behavioral therapy, so which focuses on finding strategies for people to cope with. I'm not a psychologist, so I can't really comment on its effectiveness myself, though. I do know that, how do I put it? I love reading psychological thrillers, though. Like Dennis Lehane, his stuff is pretty much it was my bread and butter for a long time. He was one of the writers on The Wire, and for him, he just has such a good way of building up tension as well as making callbacks to earlier parts in the book. So you always feel like rewarded for being able to pay attention and keeping track of characters and stuff like that. Which color was it? Yeah, there we go. Dun. He released a book a couple of years ago during the pandemic, but I haven't been able to read through it just yet. I'm just waiting for it to go on sale, really, and then I'll get around to it. Oh well. I felt like the book before that was a bit of a miss, though. It was basically a story about a woman who I believe was a reporter at one point, and then kind of got existential dread. Like, she realized that her job as a news reporter forced her into some really, really uncomfortable situations, like covering disasters and stuff like that, and that kind of broke her, like, a lot, to the point where she was scared of going outside and stuff. Does she need more neck here? Hold on. So that was a story. I felt like with that story in particular, the writing was a little bit weak. Like, the plot twists didn't really hit as hard because it was hard to care for some of those characters. Like, they weren't as memorable and stuff like that. It was clever seeing some of the ways that it was pulled off. And, like, the protagonist wasn't always dumb, but I was just hoping for a little bit more, I think. How's this look? hold on. Ah, that makes her neck look too big. Ah. How far does my race go? Hey. That's not bad. I swear, if my computer wasn't so... If my computer was any, like, weaker, I wouldn't be able to go that far. In that case, I think I went a bit too far with this part over here then. Okay. Oh, no, not that. Pen. No. 1, 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, that fits a little bit better. Not gonna lie, like parts, like the neck part over here kind of reminds me of Freeren's. Might just be me though. Let me just see. Yeah, you know what, that's okay. So now I have to go back, add in some green here and there, that dark green. Like dark-ish green. Let's see. I need... yeah, that green. There we go. Now I can make some bangs with it. Alright. So this will require a fine point. And all I'm doing is doing a bit like that. I wonder if this would work better than having black. I'll leave the black over there, but I'll need to change up the colors of these tips. There we go. So the colors of the tips is typically darker, like that. It goes kind of all the way up until a certain point. There we go. Oh. I won't be able to do old hairs, I think. So if I do, I'm gonna need to carve it out a little bit, to put in black. Oh. Done. Yeah, I won't be able to capture all the details, but that's okay. Now a little bit down here. There we go. Oh, too much. I'll stay within lines-ish. Okay. And then the back hair over here should be darker. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, the tricky thing about this is that the hair kind of blends at some points. So my shading won't necessarily be that accurate. That's okay though. A little bit of this, then a little bit of that. There. Then I can increase my size. Then I can go back and carve it with black later. Just so that there's a difference between the back hair and the front hair. Like so. Just keep carving and carving and carving. Is that okay now? Sure. Just now determine where the bangs are. Oh, too much. This part has quite a bit of noise, so I need to give it a bit more room to breathe. It's meant to be like a hoop of hair. Still need a bit of room like that. Not too much though. But it needs to be obvious. There we go. Honestly, I'd be okay with submitting this at this point. It's took a little bit longer than I would have liked, but at this point I'm just clearing up details here and there. Probably talked more about the wrestling though. But it was some fantastic setup though. I do wonder, like, it should be possible to capture like people wrestling at this point, right? Oh shoot, not that. Like, I do want to see VTubers actually wrestle instead of like just play WWE. Although that has its own merits in that there's some things in WWE's character creation that cannot and should not be emulated in real life. Jesus Christ. I mean, same thing could go for Soul Calibur too in a lot of ways. Let's just clean this part up. Oh, I need to finish off the eyes too. That's what I keep on forgetting. Eyes, then add in some shadow. Over here. Yeah, there we go. Can't forget about that. And then probably a little bit more shadow along the neck. There. Now for the eyes. So her pattern, how do I put it, is a little bit strange in that you're gonna end up with like this, what's the proper term for it? I guess faded gold ring over here. Kind of looks like something out of Elden Ring, not gonna lie. Just gotta make it a little bit wider now. Like that centerpiece. Kind of reminds me of Reine's eyes though. How the pupil is actually lighter instead of darker. I wonder if it's actually possible to make that like cosmetically though. Because like the reason why the pupil is so dark is because there's no iris bands there. It's literally a hole. The hole that allows light to pass through in order to hit like, or pass through all of the liquids and stuff like that to eventually hit your retina. Yeah, that's the color. How thick is this string? Is that too much? Probably needs to be a little bit bigger, actually. There we go. Doesn't need to be perfect though, just captures the expression. Alright, so then this will curve. I think. It is a pretty thick ring. And then there. It's just a matter of adjusting the mascara. Doesn't need to be adjusted. Okay. Oh no, too much. Ah. One, two. Ah, it's still a little thick. Is that better? It needs to show the curve a little bit more. Is that better? Yeah, maybe it's the angle that's getting me all weirded out. Now, are the shape of the eyeballs... Yeah, the size of the eyeballs is still around the same. Okay. As long as she's not given, like, the people's wink or something like that. Doing the people's eyebrow, like Dwayne. Just gotta make that eyebrow a little bit spiky now. Yeah, that's probably it. And then fix up the eyes around here. Nice. Same thing for the other side. You know, just do a little bit of an outline. There we go. Manage that black part over there. Okay. So that's the eyes fixed up. So that just leaves the hair now. Hair and maybe the branches. Maybe the leaves too. Didn't really want to do this part too much, just because, like, it's just part of the tree. It's not really too important compared to other parts. And then if I'm accounting for lighting, then the tips over here should be brightest. Then it'll get dark. Should be kind of bright over here, but then dark on the other side. Like so. Speaking of dark subjects, I still can't believe Twitch is allowing for doxing of VTubers. Like, I want to try streaming on Twitch again. It's just, how do I put it? They make a lot of weird decisions. Like, on the plus side, their discoverability is, like, pretty good. But the way that they police their content, where it feels like you can get banned at any moment, as well as they had a new feature where you could, like, take in someone for, like, I don't know, karaoke or something like that. But if you accepted it, then it would potentially turn on your webcam and expose your face, which is kind of terrifying. I wouldn't necessarily call it doxing, but it's pretty close to being that. Oh. Oh, wrong color. Ah. Like, you'd think they would roll it out in small batches or something like that before spreading it out to a bigger audience, but they didn't do that. Oh, I'm just hoping they can get their act together, because, like, when it comes to streaming, there needs to be competition. Or at least, like, what's the proper term for it? Differentiation. Wherein different products offer, you know, different services and stuff like that. Or different communities. Sort of like how in wrestling right now, there's WWE and AEW. But WWE wouldn't have that renewed focus on, you know, match quality if it weren't for AEW, as well as, like, you know, their own internal issues. Not AEW's, but, like, WWE's. Alright. Looking pretty stylized, so now I'm gonna work on the bangs over here. If there's any way to make them a little bit more distinct. So I'll carve in black and then go back and readjust. That bang's fine. Okay, cool. And then down here. Hold on one moment. I want to show that the side's like the dark side just because like there's more black around. I think that's working for the most part. Yeah. This side isn't too big of a concern, but there are some parts that I guess need to be separated a little bit more. Let's try a bit of that. So now I go back and refine it. Like so. Not too much. I want to show that these bangs are a little bit separate. There we go. Great. Maybe a bit more there. Yeah, there we go. I'm not going to go back and draw the flowers though. That was so much effort. Nobody got time for that. I'm fine with this part being a little bit messy because it's around the back anyway. I just don't want to make it too messy. How's that? It's more textured at least. Nope, too much. To be honest, I wasn't quite sure how to capture this back part over here. Could just erase it too. Yeah. Doesn't really fit. The other parts work though. Should have gone with short-haired Fauna though. Would have made things a lot more easier. There. This is good to go then. The eyes matching up at least. This won't take that long to correct though. A little bit over, then switch it up. A little bit over here. It needs to be a little bit to the left. Talk about hand-eye coordination. It's looking a little bit better now. There. All right. Not bad for a sketch then. Should there be... Oh no, there should be some... Forgot about the back hair. Oops. Don't need to take too long with it though. Ah, the issues with long hair. My gosh. Maybe a bigger size? No. I need something of intermediate size, I think. 12. Let's go. Yeah, there we go. Aha, there we go. Yeah, good enough. I can sell for this. Should probably... Just gonna make this side a little bit more darker. Gotta show that's in the shadows, really. Back to it. There we go. Oh, too much over there. Then go back to the green. Huh. Okay. Maybe one more try with... Alright, cool. Nice. I think that's good enough to submit then, so I'll go ahead and do that. Kind of have some stuff to do later on, so I guess it wouldn't hurt to end the stream early. Most of that was talk about wrestling anyway. Oh my gosh, I'm so hyped to see that show. Like, there's just so much intrigue coming into it. Like, it's one thing to have... how do I put it? Like, sure, there's excitement when it comes down to having unpredictable results, but you also risk burning out fans who... how do I put it? Like, not getting rewarded for paying attention to the details and stuff like that. Like, how do I put it? That'd be a good example. Yeah, imagine like if in Endgame that the heroes finally managed to beat Thanos by getting all of the Infinity Stones, but then like another version of Thanos pops out of nowhere and uses his Infinity Stones to undo everything. Like, there needs to be a certain logic when it comes down to creating stories, especially wrestling stories. And it's okay if things are a little bit predictable, as long as you can still tell the story to its proper conclusion. Like, just because you know the ending to... what would be a good example? Oh, I mean, like with Godzilla, right? Godzilla -1. Just because you know Godzilla is going to be beaten doesn't take the excitement of seeing how he's beaten out of the picture. You gotta reward your audience for paying attention. Because if you don't, there's gonna be riots. Or even like Game of Thrones, for example. Like, you don't want to have too much fan service. Or like, you don't want to jump the shark, or else you're going to burn out people who have been like fans of your series for so long, and that might harm like the industry as a whole, because they'll never put faith into another story again. Just saying. Alright, so I guess without further ado, I'll go ahead and wrap this up. Just double checking, be sure my art's okay. It's probably okay. Probably just overthinking things a bit. Yeah, okay. Well, hope you guys have a good night. See ya.